Okay, good morning all. So today's topic is fourth module, packet switching. So I told you I will follow the sequence, third module, second half, then fourth module, and then fifth module. It's better to cover first mid to syllabus. Hence I am covering these modules now. I left this one and we'll cover this at the end. Okay, now packet switching. So these are the topics. So I think most of you have studied computer networks in previous semester. That subject is there. So the basics which we are going to study now for those topics, the basics I think they are covered in computer networks. Okay. So let us go to the topic now. Now packet switching. So first he is introducing packet switching. Why we are switching from message switching to packet switching? So because we studied that in common channel signaling the type of method used is packet switching only, message switching, not packet switching, message switching. Okay, this message switching is mainly suitable for applications like telegraph where message can be delayed, means delays can be tolerated. Okay, but this is not good for applications like telephony because the conversation length may vary from few seconds to sometimes hours also, several minutes or sometimes hours. So the message to be transmitted is very lengthy and it may vary from single character to long octets of data. So when transmitting such long message, the other terminals have to wait till the transmission is finished. Okay, even if the terminal needs a small information, say for acceptance from computer or some kind of information from the computer, it will not get the answer, means a chance to communicate with the mainframe or central computer unless the transmission of this lengthy message is over. So this is not suitable for these type of applications. Which one? Message switching. Hence a modified form of message switching called packet switching is used. So you know packets are nothing but short messages. So the lengthy message is divided into small divisions, slots, which are called packets, and then that data is sent in the form of packets, several packets. Instead of sending that in the form of a long message, the message is divided into packets now. So this is the principle block diagram showing the packet switching. So this is one terminal, means a source. Here terminal refers to a source. It may be a subscriber or a data terminal, computer. Okay. So there are four terminals here, A, B, C, no, 5, C, D, E. And A wants to send data to one C. See, this is the packet which is intended for destination D. This is for C. And B is sending some packets B to key. So all are now, they are transferred on the same line now. This may be a bus or ring architecture. We'll discuss this now. So same line, or in other words, link. Okay. So all packets are transferred by the same link and then they are sent to their respective destinations. Okay. And this is a typical packet format. Okay. This consists of a header, the data, and this is for error detection, cyclic redundancy check code, CRC code. And the header field consists of these subfields. So it should have a destination address, the packet, and then opcode, and then source address, and this is sequence number, and then this represents the length of the data. Okay, so source address, why this is required? In order to allow for retransmission of the data in case of an error occurrence. Okay, if the receiver feels that the received data is not in correct format or wrong message is received, then it requests for retransmission of the data. So for that, source address is there, and you know opcode, operation code, and sequence number is mainly included because the data is divided into several packets. So the packets may not be received in correct order at the destination. Okay, so for that, sequence number is included so that they can be rearranged in according to the sequence number at the destination. And next one is byte count. So this is actually this represents the length of the data, and this is included again because the receiver should know, the destination should know whether it has received the complete data or not. Okay, so we can include this length field. There is another way, that is using of flags. This we discussed in that CCIGT system number 7, those protocols, HDLC protocol. Okay, so their flag bits are used. The main intention of using the flag bits is to separate the data, to mark the beginning and ending of the data. So using flag bits is one option, or you can specify the length of the data also. Okay, and this was actually developed, packet switching was actually developed for LANs, and later it is extended for WANs also, wide area networks. So local area networks and wide area networks both use this packet switching method. This was later used in them. Okay, LANs, then WANs, then MANs, metropolitan area networks, and so on. Okay, and he's giving the difference between a bridge and a gateway. Okay, so a bridge means if two networks, suppose there are two networks, one used in one area, two local areas are there, and the both areas use two types of networks, and we want to transmit or exchange the information between the two networks. Okay, if the protocols followed by the two networks is same, then the two areas may be linked, means the two networks may be linked by a bridge. A gateway is one which translates the protocols if different protocols are used. If one network uses one protocol and another network uses another protocol, so a matching is required for message transfer between the two networks, and that matching, that translation is provided by this gateway. So these two may appear in bits. Now next topic is, this is the introduction of packet switching. Okay, next one is statistical multiplexing. So what is a statistical multiplexing technique? StatMux. Okay, now we know space division multiplexing and time division multiplexing. In space division multiplexing, a permanent line is used for transferring data between the sending terminal and the destination terminal, receiving terminal. Whereas in case of time division multiplexing, a fixed time slot will be given to the subscriber or terminal for sending the information. Okay, in both cases, the line or the method remains efficient only when the traffic is huge, means large. When the data sent by the data transferred, exchanged between the terminals is large, then the efficiency of the system will be high. But normally this will be, say he's using the word bursty, the traffic will be bursty. Bursty means it will not be continuous. Okay, they both will exchange information at some random times only, irregular intervals. Okay, so the inefficiency now arises. The system is not used in an efficient manner. So we can improve the efficiency of the system by including more number of terminals. Terminals here refers to, for example, subscribers. Okay, more number of data sources. This can be done by now sending the data in the form of packets. Okay, when data is sent in the form of packets, the number of terminals served by that system can be increased. Okay, a system which uses this technique, means what is the technique? Sending the data in the form of packets is known as a statistical multiplexer. Okay, a statistical multiplexer is one which operates in the mode, in this present mode. What is this mode? Sending data in that respective duration in form of packets, not as a continuous message. Okay, it is also called as, the other name for this is intelligent multiplexer. Okay, statistical multiplexer or intelligent multiplexer. Okay, now it should have a buffer also. This means this statistical multiplexer includes a buffer or a memory for storing the data, because different terminals may send data at different times. Okay, sometimes both may try to send data at the same time, so one has to be kept in queue. Okay, when the other one is finished, then this will be transferred. So for this it requires a buffer, a memory also. Okay, now the usage of the memory or queuing represents delay. Okay, now this delay restricts the maximum number of terminals that can be served by that system. Well, first of all, we are using this packet switching only to increase the number of terminals. Now again, there is a limit on maximum number of terminals or maximum number of data sources served by the system, and that is imposed by this acceptable delay. Okay, since there is a queuing system, okay, every message will be subjected to queue when there is huge traffic. Okay, so that delay puts a limit on, upper limit on the maximum number of subscribers. Okay, that he is saying. And now he is giving some formulae for determining the occupancy of that trunk line. So if a data link, if a line, okay, link means a line transmits k bits per second. So this is the transmission rate, k bits per second, and it serves the terminals that generate m bits per second. So each data source is generating data at this rate, m bits per second. Okay. Now the system can serve how many number of terminals that he is giving here. N is the number of terminals, and this n is given by k by m. Okay, let us take this in the numerical example. Suppose the data transmits say some 100 bits per second, and each terminal generates data at 10 bits per second, for example. Then how many terminals it can serve? That 100 by 10 means only 10 terminals, 10 data sources it can serve. So that is giving here. And n is given by k by m, where k represents the transmission rate, okay, the link transmission rate, and m represents the data generation rate by the sources. Okay, now the mean holding time h of a single trunk, okay, the mean holding time is now defined as p by k. Okay, this is the expression, and the definition is given here. The mean holding time is the time taken to send a packet. So what is the total time taken for sending a packet, transferring a packet from source to the destination? The average time is given here. The expression is h is equal to p by k. Okay, where p is the average number of bits per packet. So it represents the number of bits that are present in that packet. Okay, packet size. Okay, so this is bits per packet, and this is k units are bits per second. So that means packets per second. So how many packets can be sent in a given duration? That is mean holding time, average holding time. And then he is giving some formula for occupancy. Okay, these are not important. So if you want, you can remember these expressions. Okay, because we are not going to expect the problems. Okay, and the occupancy is this. This is the formula. So A is given by this mean holding time, average holding time into the rate of arrival of the packets. Okay, so lambda multiplied by this is the occupancy of the trunk. So this represents the traffic carried by the trunk. That means the number of packets. Okay, so that is why the units are specified in airlines. So this is the unit for traffic. Okay, now next topic. So that is about statistical multiplexer. So statistical multiplexing means it is a type of multiplexing where the data from the sources is sent in the form of packets. Okay. Now next one is next topic, important topic, local area and wide area networks. So in this he is discussing two types of architecture for data transfer. One is the bus networks and another one is ring networks. Okay, so the first one is bus network. So this is the most commonly used network means of transfer for data transfer in local area networks and wide area networks. So this is the structure shown here. So these are different terminals A, B, C, D, E, F. So these are terminals, and these are transferring the data with the help of this bus. Okay, usually this is a cable carrying the bits with some data speed. Okay, so you know the difference between LAN and WAN. So LAN means usually it represents a smaller area, geographical area, for example, a floor or a simple building. And WAN represents a wider area, geographical area. So several such buildings. It covers a geographically larger area when compared to this one, LAN. Now, a bus network is a single server queuing system. Okay, so there is only one path, and that path has to carry the entire traffic. All the data packets coming from all these sources will be carried by this line. So unless this operates at high data rates, unless the speed of this line is very high, okay, this will result in long delays, because queuing will be there. Okay, it is already carrying data, the incoming messages will be kept in a queue. Okay, unless so the speed is very high, long delays will occur. Okay, now next one is he is discussing the modes of operation. So what are the two modes of operation of this bus network? There are two modes. First one is polling. This is the first mode of operation, and second mode of operation is random access. So here he gave the introduction, and now he is discussing the modes of operation for this bus network. Okay, so there are two modes. First one is polling and second one is random access. So now first polling. So what is this mode of operation? In this mode of operation, so normally terminals or nodes, okay, one node will be the mainframe computer and remaining terminals will be the data terminals. Okay, now the mainframe computer plays the key role and it completely controls the communication between the other nodes and the mainframe computer. So this happens in polling. All the communication is completely controlled by the central computer. So it will initiate the interrogation polling and it will pass the polling invitation to all the nodes. Okay, simply the data terminals has to wait. They have to wait till they hear from the mainframe computer. So here the complete control is in the hands of mainframe computer only. That is first mode of operation. In second mode of operation, all nodes are of equal status. So there is no superior or inferior here. All nodes are of equal status. So any node can send traffic anytime independently. Okay, so that is random access. So there are two modes of operation. First one is polling, where the mainframe computer handles everything. And second one is random access. So every node is free to transfer data, send or receive data. Okay, so they will act independently in random access method. Now first one. So again, this polling is of two types. Polling is the first mode of operation, and again this can be carried out in two ways. First one is roll call polling and another one is hub polling. Okay, there are two types. In roll call polling, this is like calling students by roll number wise. Okay, so it will follow a specific order and it will serve each and every node. Okay, sometimes priority may be given, that means order may not be followed in some cases. Okay, priority may be given to some nodes, so they will be served first. Okay, and another point is the computer may not serve all nodes also in first round. So that depends entirely on the computer, and we may change the priorities also. Okay, so first node 1 may be scan, node 2, then node 3, then in second round node 2 may be given first priority. So all these modifications can be done easily in this polling method, polling mode of operation. Okay, now what happens, let us see in roll call polling. So in roll call polling, normally the data terminals will be in listening mode. So they will wait to hear from the mainframe computer. The mainframe computer will send messages. Those messages will contain the destination address. Okay, so now the data terminals will receive these messages. So he's saying broadcast messages. That means the messages will be sent to all the nodes. Okay, now after receiving the message from the computer, they will check the destination address. If the destination address matches, then they will do the carry out the required operation. For example, sending data to the computer or accepting the data sent by the computer. If that particular node has nothing to do, no message to send, it will simply convey the same thing to the computer. Okay, once this is over, now the mainframe computer will send another message, now with a different address. Now it is addressing some other node. Okay, and this process continues. So this is called roll call polling. So in roll call polling, the computer scans, okay, one by one node. It sends the message and the required operation will be carried out. That is roll call polling. But the disadvantage of this method is that, what is the disadvantage of this method? Propagation delay. Okay, so in case of wide area networks, the geographical area covered will be large. In that case, suppose the mainframe computer is at one end and the terminals may be at the opposite end, so the delay will be more. Okay, so when it sends the message, it has to receive the information back. For this, the time required to duration may be high. Okay, so delay will be more for this one. First method, roll call polling. In order to reduce this delay, a hub polling can be used. So in case of hub polling, the computer will not initiate the interrogation. Okay, the terminals itself send the data whenever they want to send the data. Okay, so when a node has to send the data, it simply sends the data to the main computer and then it passes that polling invitation to the next node. That means it gives information to the next node in some way, indicating that its part is over, its work is over. Now it is the turn of that second node. Okay, this is called hub polling. So now the computer has, it need not wait for information from the distant terminal. Okay, the terminals itself communicate among them, and they will complete that message transfer communication. Okay, so this reduces the delay. So hub polling offers the advantage of reduced delay, but the offset is the complexity of the equipment. Terminal equipment are to be designed with increased complexity now, because they are doing all this by themselves. They are now not depending on the central computer. Okay, so increased complexity, terminal complexity is, as terminal equipment is now more complex. Okay, that is first disadvantage, and there is another second disadvantage. It is difficult to modify the sequence to allow priorities. So we can change the order of the nodes, communicating nodes. That is very easy in case of roll call polling, but in case of hub polling, that will not happen easily. It is difficult to modify the order. So these are the two disadvantages. Okay, so in polling there are two types. One is hub polling, and the one is roll call polling. In roll call polling, the computer does everything. In hub polling, the terminals, they will transfer the message from one terminal to another terminal. Okay, and they will communicate with the computer, means mainframe computer. So this is about polling network, and now he is giving the practical examples, applications. So this is used in banks, centralized banks and reservation systems. Okay, so whenever a transaction takes place at any branch office, that should be updated at the main office, central office. Okay, so this type of polling networks are used in such applications. So these two are the practical applications, polling network. Now next method, second mode of operation is random access. Okay, this is the second mode of operation. So there are several methods under this category, this mode of operation. First one is Aloha protocol. I think this is also covered in previous semester. You must have heard this term, Aloha. So this is a protocol, and this is mainly this mainly advantage of this protocol is it allows the node or terminal to send data whenever it wants to send the data. And how to know that information is successfully sent? Now they won't change any polling invitation between them, but they will send an acknowledgement. Okay, positive acknowledgement. Upon the receipt of that positive acknowledgement, now the sender will know that okay, the message is successfully received by that receiver. Okay, and this happens, this goes on. But now see, suppose if a packet takes p seconds. So if a sending terminal wants to send a data packet and requires p seconds for transmission, and now it has to acknowledge the sender. So suppose TP is the propagation time. Okay, so the two-way propagation time is 2 TP. Okay, acknowledgement will be now received. What is the total time now? P is the transmission time, and the two-way propagation time is 2 TP. So after P plus 2 TP, the sender should get the acknowledgement, positive acknowledgement. Okay, if it is not, if it has not received that acknowledgement within this duration, P plus 2 TP, then it will retransmit the message again, retransmit the packet again. Okay, so retransmissions will take place in this method. Okay, so the packets will be sent by the center, and the center will wait for a total duration of P plus 2 TP to receive that positive acknowledgement. If it receives positive acknowledgement, then only it will understand that the message is successfully delivered. Okay, otherwise it will retransmit that packet. So retransmissions will take place. Now collisions will occur. Okay, if collisions will occur, then what happens? Again, the two sources will retransmit the message. So when does this collision occur? When two sources try to transmit data at the same time. Okay, so now we are saying that p seconds is the time required for sending the packet. So for that second, still it is on the route, suppose bus or that cable. Okay, now within the same time, if suppose another source tries to send the packet, then these two packets will collide. So the other source has to wait. Okay, now what is the vulnerable time for collision? What is the time duration within which another means if another source transmits, collision may occur? That is called vulnerability. Okay, so what is the vulnerable time in this case now? 2p. 2p. So the packet may be already sent by some source. Now we want to send the packet at say t1 time period. Okay, so starting from this t1 time period, okay, earlier to this t1 and after this t1, so what is the total duration? 2p now, starting from t1. Okay, before p seconds and after p seconds, no other transmission should occur. If this is satisfied, then only a collision will not occur, otherwise the two packets will collide. Okay, so the vulnerability time is 2p. Okay, for example, 20 seconds. 10 seconds is the time for transmission of the packet. Now I want to start the transmission at say 11th second. So prior to this one, before 10 seconds and after 10 seconds, no transmission should be there. If there is already a transmission at say 3rd second. Okay, so up to 13th second, that packet will be on the line. Now I want to transmit at 10th second. Okay, 11th second, for example, then definitely collision will occur. So here the vulnerability time is 20 seconds. Okay, so 2p is the duration within which no transmission should take place. Okay, so it has to, the source has to wait for that time, 2p seconds or 2p units. Okay, that is the vulnerability time. Okay, now again this aloha, there are two types. He is giving first one. First one is this pure aloha. Second one, there is another type called slotted aloha. So what we discussed till now, that is pure aloha. First protocol, pure aloha protocol. There is a problem with this pure aloha protocol. So this is a graph showing the output, throughput of the system, traffic handled by the system, and what is the traffic offered to the system. Okay, offered traffic and what is the throughput. Okay, so as long as the traffic is below certain limit, okay, the throughput of the system is high. But when the traffic increases beyond certain limit, then number of collisions will increase. When the traffic increases, collision increases. When collisions are there, retransmissions will be there. Again, these retransmissions, they may lead to collisions. Okay, so the final throughput of the system decreases. The number of the traffic served, amount of traffic served by the system decreases. So this happens in pure aloha, but a better throughput can be achieved with slotted aloha. We can increase the amount, means traffic handled by the system, that can be increased by using this slotted aloha. So what is this slotted aloha? Slotted aloha is a method where all the terminals will use synchronous transmission. That means all of them will transmit at the same time. Okay, now the entire time frame is divided into some number of slots. For example, 10 slots. Now the terminals will, suppose there are 10 terminals. Okay, now the 10 terminals will start transmission at the beginning of each slot only. Okay, at the beginning of each slot, they will transmit. Okay, now once they transmit, is